Miss Cosy Sheridan.
I'm delighted to be here. This is my bass player, CharlieKoch. And when you guys and Claudia played her last song, I thought, well, that's perfect, because I was on the road in Nebraska about 5-6 years ago when I was driving across I-80, and every truck stop of America or Flying J stopped at, there was this same poster that year, and it said Female Festival. And this is the only other female festival I've heard of, and the one that I am a part of, and that was a festival for dairy cows. So. In a certain tree I'll make my nest. You can write to me at this address. I'll be there and then I'll be gone. No matter where we live, we all move on. Make me a raven's wing, and I will return in the spring, when the desert is a beautiful thing. I will fly. Oh, how the pretty bird sings, fly away. Oh, how the pretty bird sings, fly away. Do you know your neighbors? Do you know your town? Do they pick you up if you fall down? Do you grow best in a certain kind of ground? Do we get to keep every home we ever found? Oh, how the pretty bird sings, fly away. Oh, how the pretty bird sings, fly away. And I make it up as I go along. I make my way and I make my song. Make me a raven, I will fly home. Oh, how the pretty bird sings, fly away. 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 Make me a raven, I will fly home. Well, comedy is misdirection, and I thought you would be very misdirected if I started in that situation. So, thank you for letting me start there. I needed something that kind of felt like that. I got this shirt from my neighbor. He makes them by hand. He stands on them. He makes a little ink block, and then he stands on them in Moab. It says, "Be patient." So that's my motto tonight: be patient. So I am delighted to be here, and I was sitting backstage listening to Claudia. She was lovely. Did a great set, her song about her dad. And this song, it was inspired by being with my father in 2008 in the middle of September. Do you remember when the stock market, crashed? 2008, most of your IRAs disappeared. And I was visiting my dad in New Hampshire, and my father loved to watch MSNBC financial news, and so I watched Lehman Brothers go down every hour on the hour that night with my father. And by the end of the night, I thought, I need to know more about the financial world. So I went and got myself some books and tried to educate myself about the financial situation. And after I'd read them for a while, I thought, okay, now I'll open the business section of the New York Times. And I obviously didn't know enough yet, because I still didn't understand the business section of the New York Times, but I understood the advertisements, because the advertisers wanted me to understand the advertisements. And what I noticed during that period was that the face of our personal financial advisor changed over time. And it went from being a young man right out of college in like an Armani suit, really a go-getter, to being a woman over 60 with her hair in a bun and a nice little, silk shirt with a little bow, and she looked like your third grade math teacher. And I thought that was interesting, that was where we felt, at one time we'd felt safe putting our money here, and by the end of it we felt safe putting our money here. So. If we're gonna make sense of higher finance, we have to separate the men from the boys. We need a hand on the nozzle, someone menopausal would know how to take away the toys. A simple little feature any third grade teacher already knows how to do. Boys and girls, pay attention and don't trust your pension to someone younger than you. Junior is a genius with computer algorithms, his hand on the financial throttle. He got A's in all his courses, too bad the market forces didn't operate like his model. And now his bonus is depending on how well he is pretending he knows why the market went down. So he will talk about liquidity, but really he knows diddly. See how impressive it sounds. Boys and girls, pay attention. Don't trust your pension to someone younger than you. He might not think it through. And just like Alexander of Macedon, he'll plunder your country and then move on and leave a lot of wreckage there in his wake. Remember, Alexander thought that he was great, so you might want a woman of a certain age, someone who's encountered the hourly wage. You want to think again, that ambitious young man might not take the long view. Boys and girls, pay attention and don't trust your pension. You want to sing along? To someone younger than you. Thank you. Well, I know I'm in Tucson, so the following situation may be a completely foreign event to a Tucsonian. But I'm from New England, and I really am from New England. Thank you. So a few years ago, I had split up into a long-term relationship, and I was really looking for how to fill my time. I lived in Moab, Utah at the time, and it was 115 that summer. And my agent called me, and she said, "Well, I'll give you $500 if you'll go to Idaho and play at a nudist resort." And she knew that this was not an easy thing for me to do because she sent me to one about 10 years before that. And that's where we had discovered that I have what they call a high inner pilgrim. And my inner pilgrim is very uncomfortable when people take their clothing off in a large group setting. So, but she said, well, they'll pay you $500 if you go to Idaho and you can keep your clothes on. So I said, okay, I'll go to Idaho. So I flew up to Spokane, and the guy from Idaho, from the nudist resort, drove over in his van. And he picked me up at the airport, and he had all his clothing on in the van, and I thought, well, we're going to be okay, this will be all right. And we drive about 45 minutes over towards Idaho. And as we drive, he's telling me about his sort of political theory of nudism, which is fine with me. I'm getting on board with it, and I'm thinking I can do this. This will be fine. And then we arrive at the resort, and it's dinner time, and we arrive at the very crowded dining hall. And apparently on Labor Day weekend of this particular summer, the majority of the people who go to this nudist resort are very tall men. And they're all in line at the dining hall, and now I'm in line in the dining hall as well, and I'm making just violent eye contact with everyone I meet. And I'm not an eye contact kind of person, but I was that day. So we have our eye contact dinner, and after the dinner, I'm supposed to entertain them. And there's a sort of a room about this size, and then there's a stage about this high. And it's a big stage, and it's covered with a black paisley carpet. And I get up on the stage, and I start my little entertaining show. And somewhere about the third song into the set, the universe decides that I have not been adequately punished for some transgression at some time in my life, I don't know when, and I break a string, and one of my little black bridge pins goes flying off onto the black paisley carpet. And I don't have another one with me in Idaho. So I get down on my hands and knees, and I start looking for the black bridge pin. Well, everybody watching me, and I try to be somewhat entertaining about it. And at this time, my MC, a very nice, very large man wearing only white tennis shoes, decides that he will come on stage and he will try to help me. And so he stands at this microphone while I crawl around at his feet looking for my bridge pen, and he tries to entertain people as I did eventually find the bridge pen, and I did finish the concert, but I couldn't tell you anything about any of it because my inner pilgrim was in a catatonic state by then. So this is the song I wrote the first time, and you'd think I would have taken my own advice. If I come to your weekend workshop, do I have to dance to a drum in a field? I've spent 45 years learning to use my words to show how I feel. Don't put me with 25 strangers and then tell me to just let go. I've been in couples therapy. Show me something I don't already know. When I read the brochure that they mailed me, it said transformative and fun. How did I guess that men get undressed and then beat on this drum? You can't cure me with drumming or dancing. Many, many people have tried. I'm repressed but polite. I say thank you and good night. And if they ask if I like it, well, I lied. There might have been drumming and dancing when they landed at Plymouth Rock, but I can guess from which side it wasn't my tribe. My people, we stand still and we talk. I'm delighted to be here. I want to thank all the people who made it possible, Bonnie and all the volunteers, the wonderful people at the door, the lovely young women who all liked my earrings. I should have brought more. So the other thing that happened to me that summer is I had become single. I'd been in a relationship for about 20 years, and it was sort of a shock to me. And my brother was trying to help me out, and so he sent me this book by a soap opera star in New York, and her book was all about how you get through tough times. And her prescription was that you buy yourself a new pair of high-heeled shoes. And somehow my brother looked at this book and thought, my sister, I should send this to her. But it was 115 in Moab, and I was, thinking, well, I wanted to fill my time, and so I read the book. And in the book, this woman recommends also that you go to the Lauren Hutton website and you order the Makeup for Aging Faces. And I was at the time trying to be proactive, and I thought, well, maybe this will help. So I went to the Lauren Hutton website and I ordered the Makeup for Aging Faces. And it came to the post office in Moab, and I went down and got the big box, and I opened it up. And in the box was this large palette, about the size of the stool, covered with little round pieces of paint, you were going to put makeup paint. And there was a map that told you what all the things were. I think there was 15 little or 17 little places. And then there was a map of the female face with corresponding zones that went with the cut stuff. And it turns out that aging female faces have 15 major zones, and there were 15 major pieces of paint. And I tried to correspond my face with the map and with the paint, and by the end of the day I thought, I'm going to be a lot older by the time I work out this makeup for aging faces. It's not going to happen. Would you guys like to sing? Excellent. There's a lot to be lost in the great wide world, so don't walk away from love. It might not look like you planned, your family might not understand, but don't walk away from love, that's your line. As we move around the wheel, up and down how we feel, don't walk away from love. We are darkness, we are light, we don't Don't walk away from love. All the ways that we get sick and all the ways that we get bored. Don't walk away from love. All the little tiny pieces, and we don't know what they're for. Don't walk away from love. There are things you can't imagine just waiting in store. Don't walk away from love. 'Cause it's a boat across the river to a shining shore, and an open hand and an open door. So let go of your heart just a little bit more. Don't walk away from love. Don't walk away from love. Don't walk away from love. Hey, Richard, are you up there in the light booth? Is that the red light? I don't think so. There's two of them. Is Richard up there? Richard's supposed to shine me the red light when I only have 5 minutes, and I think I have 10, but there's a little red light, and I don't want to be, going against the rules here. The red light went off. Thank you, Richard. I'll assume it's going to go on again in 3 or 4 minutes, so I'm going to play you 2 more tunes. So you might not know it, but you're now part of the ongoing Cosy Sheridan Midlife Crisis Tour. And the Midlife Crisis Tour has been going on now for probably almost 20 years. And I probably should move into the next phase of the next tour, but I prefer this one. The Midlife Crisis Tour was inspired when I hired a consultant to watch me perform one night. And she called me up the next morning to give me her assessment over the phone. And she said, well, I like your songs, and I like what you're wearing. But it looks like you just gave up from the neck up. Well, she earned her money because I was so inspired that my alter ego Chlamydia went down to the basement to write what she calls the theme song to the Midlife Crisis Tour. This is the Botox Tango. I am thinking of getting injected. Gravity's heavy than I expected, and it's pulling things out of place. My skin is getting longer than my face, and it's pulling in the creases of my vigilance never ceases. With the emollients and the greases, I am a puzzle losing its pieces, and the cracks are slowly growing between my tectonic plates. Continental drift for man or woman never waits, and there's no point in self-deceiving. Like Australia, part of me is leaving. And a somewhat stronger chin. Now I'd be happy with just a remission of this loss of collagen. You can put your fears to rest. I won't be getting any in the chest. It wouldn't solve any problems at all, and just give me 2 more things to fall. So I'm getting older sooner than I expected. You guys are a delight, thank you. So I'm going to play you one more song, and then one of my heroes, Christine Lavin, is going to come out, and then my other hero, Cheryl. This has just been, it's an honor to be part of this show. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm going to go out with Song that was inspired by my house sitter in Moab, Juliet. She left her nose ring on the back of the toilet when she left. And I had never seen how the back of a nose ring worked. I don't have an adolescent child, and I had never done that yet. And at the time, I was about to have my 30th birthday, and I was thinking that there was some way I could lock myself into my 20s, and maybe I could, pierce some part of myself, like my nose or my navel, and then it would lock me into my 20s while the rest of me moved forward, which shows you about how well I was thinking about this. I'm turning 50 soon. I'm not doing any better with this one, but anyway. So she leaves her nose ring there, and I'm thinking that maybe if you ever thought of getting something pierced and it didn't work for you either, this is your fight song, and I am your mascot. Some people look sexy and fierce when they are multiply pierced. I must be getting too old. All I can think is, how would I get that in and out of my nose? Some people can look nice with a metallic device coming out of their face in an unusual place. And there are problems too with colorful tattoos. They look nice on young skin with healthy collagen, but gravity can be said. The wrinkles really don't add. These are thoughts I've entertained while considering being ritually named. And it takes poise and a blown man, a very taut abdomen. Why put an earring in a navel that's disappearing into a comfortable repose? If you have to dig for it in the folds when you bend over or sit down, it's 3 inches in and 2 more down. You might not erect